So, first of all, thank you, DLD. Thanks, everybody, for making this opportunity for us to listen to global problem solving. And I'm sure that is one thing that I don't need to convince anybody here, which is that solving problems of a global scale are inherently difficult because sometimes the very systems that we can use to solve these problems are themselves compromised. And one of the ways we've tried to solve these kind of problems, given that context, has been the development of institutions. So when we have a mismatch between economic resources and social opportunities, we developed the institution of capitalism. When we had a mismatch between expectations, political expectations, and social outcomes, we developed the institution of democracy. So institutions are not necessarily brick and mortar. Institutions involve incentive structures, sets of relations, moral systems. And my job here today is to demonstrate to you why institutions are going to be critical in the way that we solve some of the world's problems. But not just institutions, new forms of institutions. Let me start with a problem. And this is a problem not many of you will be familiar with, but it's an absolutely critical problem. You are looking at two pills of medicines. And this medicine is made by a very reputable pharmaceutical firm. If I was to tell you that in the pharmacy, you were to make a choice, which one of these can save your life or kill you, will you be able to? Obviously not, because those two pills look essentially identical. It's a question of trust. So imagine yourself standing in the pharmacy about to make this choice that can save your life or kill you. But it is not a thought exercise. This is a problem many people face daily across the developing world, particularly in Africa and Asia. That gentleman you are looking at now on the right hand of the screen is holding one of the most widely prescribed anti-malarials in the world. It's a very famous anti-malarial. Doctors trust it, they prescribe it to mothers, they administer it to their children. Last year, sometime in October, nearly every single one of these packs of medicines had to be pulled out of pharmacies in the second largest city of Ghana called Kumasi because fake versions of these antimalarials had entered the legitimate supply chain. They were in clinics, they were in pharmacies, they were in community health posts. And they look entirely like what is holding. So imagine it. Malaria kills millions of people a day in the developing world. Billions of dollars are pumped into public health systems to improve upon outcomes. And yet still, 50% of all the anti-malarials being sold in Africa, whenever they are tested, comes up fake. That is a shocking statistic. But maybe you are thinking, well, you've got a couple of chemists in their garages making some money off big pharmaceutical companies. Why should I really care? This is why you should care. This is where they make the medicines. So it is not a couple of chemists in their garage being entrepreneurial, hacking together some chemicals, which do the same work, except that they make some profits of it. No, these people couldn't give a damn about your health. Does it look like a very intractable problem? Kind of the problems that we have all become used to, the collapse of the Congo Basin, the decline of American cities, etc., etc. Does it look like one of those complex global problems which, because of our interdependent world, grow more intractable the more you try to solve them? And the way that we've always dealt with these kinds of issues don't work here. We deal with these issues because we assume they are criminal issues. And being criminal issues, we employ law enforcement tactics. You are looking at a Nigerian law enforcement agent, and all those medicines you are looking at have been pulled out of pharmacies because they could kill people. And now she's attempting to destroy them. But the point is, if the medicines are so good that sometimes it takes a week for the makers of the medicines, the manufacturers of the medicines themselves, to identify whether the medicines are original, how is this lady, when he moves from pharmacy to pharmacy and shop to shop, going to identify those medicines that can heal people and those that can kill people? I think it's looking more and more intractable, isn't it? And then you think technology can help us. And so many different types of technology have been developed in the West. you are looking at two of the most favorite types, holograms and RFID. Holograms are physical features. They are based on optical devices on the pack, and you look at the shiny device on the pack and you determine that this must be an original. The problem, though, is that what are you comparing the hologram to? So you can make a hologram that is so complicated and so sophisticated that nobody can replicate it. But the point is, if I'm a consumer standing in the pharmacy looking at a bloody pack, I can't tell which hologram I'm comparing this hologram to. So holograms simply do not work for the purposes that we seek to implement these solutions to tackle. RFID is great. Think of it as an electronic chip which you embed in the packaging, and you are able to use a reader to scan for information. It is extremely hard to duplicate. It's extremely effective. The problem, though, is that the consumer in an African country will not have the reader. The pharmacy will not have the infrastructure, particularly the internet connection, etc., to make this solution work. So even our new institutions don't seem as effective as we would like them to be. So this is what we came up with. Working with Hewlett-Packard and our other partners, we decided to democratize trust, to take the power of determining whether a medicine can cure you or heal you down from the very top of the supply chain into the hands of the consumer. So that that consumer, regardless of background, gender, income, religion, etc., when they are standing in the pharmacy, they can make a quick decision whether this medicine can save them or kill them, and do so for free. We went to the extent of getting the telecom companies to make it possible for people to send these SMSs without paying a penny. So even the SMS is free. And so what it is very simple. You have a cloud-based system. The manufacturer accesses this system. They are able to generate unique coding on each pack of medicine. So these are generic medicine. Don't forget, all our clients currently are generic producers. And so if I was to scratch this panel, it will unveil a unique code which is different for each pack. And when the consumer buys the bottle, they will do a quick scratch and SMS the code to a universally trusted number, like a 911 number. And so we never print the number on there, and the response comes back to the consumer, telling the consumer whether it's safe or not. At the same time, information goes to the back end, including geolocation information and the rest of it, so the manufacturer gets full visibility into their supply chain. Make it as simple as possible on the interface. Make it as complex as the more sophisticated user can manage on the back end. So I'll play the video. Sometimes visuals speak much louder than words. And that is our partner, May & Baker, the largest and the most respected pharmaceutical manufacturer in Nigeria. It's a generics company. That is an anti-inflammatory drug used to treat a whole range of infections. So what you just saw was a confirmation not only that the medicine was the original as it left the factory, but also the certification status of that medicine. Because you can have shady manufacturers who are legitimating that they are registered by making shady drugs. So this system informs you that this is a properly certified medicine. It informs you also that since that medicine left the factory or left the warehouse, nothing has happened in the intervening period to distort the value that it can offer to you. It gives you the real expiry date. About 30% of all the medicines that are expired in Europe are re-exported to various other parts of the world and resold. So this gives you critical health-related information at the point of use. But the most critical thing, and this is where I think we come to a convergence about the point I made earlier, and the technology. it is not just the technology which is innovative. In fact, the technology is the least innovative aspect of this whole model. What is innovative is the ability to align the incentives of the various participating stakeholders. So you have M-Pedigree and HP in the middle as the facilitators of this service. But around it, you're seeing the telecom operator, whose infrastructure allows this to happen. The pharmaceutical company, who benefits from being able to recoup lost market share. You are looking at the government, which authorizes that number and ensures that there is trust in that number. You are looking at the pharmacist associations. How do we align all these interests such that they are all focused on delivering value to the ordinary person on the street in Africa, by making sure that the monetary incentives of the pharmaceutical company is aligned with the public health interest of the government, and that is in turn aligned with the need of the telcos to expand the data services because of competition in the voice category. And this is critical. Our ability to solve the problems that afflict the world today will largely depend on our ability to create these kinds of large-scale partnerships where incentives are perfectly aligned. And so you can see our partnerships as they grow. 30 partnerships across Africa, moving into 6 countries, involved with all aspects of public health, of telecom innovation, etc., etc. And all this having been accomplished with very little resources, because the partnerships amplify the possibilities. And that is the way for the future. And so the institution I'm commending to you today, I mentioned democracy, I mentioned capitalism, I mentioned Marxism, I should have mentioned Marxism earlier on. All these institutions are important. But the new institution of social enterprise is what will transform our world radically by making it possible for partners who before had no incentive to collaborate. And now you are thinking, well, maybe big problem. Developing world. I am here in Germany. I live in the developed world. I live in the USA. How might that benefit me? Think of it. 1 out of 7 deaths in the world are caused by adverse drug reactions. And that has no interest whether you are in Ghana, the United States, or Germany. Drug-drug interactions, particularly adverse drug-drug interactions, are the major cause of death based on post-hospital care in this country, in the United States. So clearly, an ability of a consumer about to use a product to get the most critical information just at that point will be critical not only to Africa, not only to the developing world, but across the world. It has been shown in Africa because, as I said, where the incentives are most perfectly aligned, the best solutions come forth. Thank you very much.